Welcome to Vertigo Pogo Sticks. I'm Ian, and today I'm going to show you how to turn your pogo stick from a crazy jumping machine into a fitness-oriented pogo stick that's not quite so dangerous and crazy. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes. It's pretty simple. There's one thing that we really need to show you, and that's how to put the spacers on. So the first thing you need to do is make sure your stick doesn't have air in it. The shaft is partially or fully compressed inside of the pogo stick. And you're going to remove the bottom 8 bolts. I've already done so. You're going to use a 3/16 Allen key to do it, and just unscrew them all. Once you get them unscrewed, we're going to take a pump. We're going to put it onto the top of the stick, and we're going to just pump a little bit of air into the cylinder. It's going to cause the shaft to pop out of the bottom, and you can see here that the cylinder actually popped off the pegs. I got lucky. That doesn't usually happen. What usually happens is that the shaft extends out of the stick, pegs stay in, and then you're going to take this guy and slam it against the ground. The pegs will pop out once you do that. We step on them and we pull the cylinder off. That breaks the pogo stick into its 2 basic components. You've got the cylinder assembly and you've got the foot peg assembly. We're going to take the cylinder and we're going to set it upside down because there's a bunch of oil in here. That oil is going to drain down here instead of all over the ground. So now that we've got the foot peg assembly removed, we're going to take a paper towel and just wipe stuff down. There's going to be oil all over it. You don't want to get that all over your hands or your table or your carpet or wherever you're doing this. So we're going to give everything just a quick wipe down, clean it up a bit, and then I'm gonna put paper towels under the piston and lay the whole foot peg assembly down on the ground, like so. Now I'm gonna take a 1/4 inch hex key and I'm gonna use it to unbolt the bounce pad from the bottom of the stick. It's easiest to have it laying down, and you're just gonna push down into the ground, applying some pressure. That's gonna loosen this up to where you can easily remove it. Okay, so we've got the bounce pad removed. Now we've got the pegs on the shaft. And just get a little bit of momentum here and pull them right off of the shaft. So that's going to expose the shaft, and you're going to see we have 1 spacer on it. It's not actually a spacer, it is a shock absorber. And we're just calling it a spacer to make it a little more simple. So we've got 2 methods of adding these donuts on. I'm going to show you both of them. The first method is going to be a little bit difficult for some people, which is why we're showing a second method as well. The first thing we want to do is take some lubricant. You can use Vaseline, you can use baby oil, olive oil, motor oil, white lithium grease, whatever you have, and you just basically want to get it onto the shaft so that you have it nice and slippery to put the spacer on. Our spacers are a friction fit, which means they're extremely tight on the shaft, very hard to get on. If you don't put lubricant onto the shaft, you're gonna have a very difficult time trying to slide it from here all the way down to here. So the first way I'm gonna show you is to smash down onto a block of wood, which will pop the donut spacer onto the shaft, and then you slide it up. Okay, so I'm gonna hold it with my left hand, my right hand up top, my left hand down on the bottom, and I'm gonna smash down pretty much as hard as I can onto the block. The bigger the block, the easier it is. You don't want to go with both hands because then you're putting yourself at risk of smashing your fingers. So make sure as you smash down, you keep your hand, your free hand, your bottom hand up, higher up. Okay, so you're just gonna take it and you're gonna smash down. You can see that the donut popped onto the shaft, and then simply slide that into place. That's the first way to do it. The second way to do it is a little more time consuming, and it requires removing the piston from the top of the shaft. And to do that, you've got to unscrew the piston. So I'm going to stand on the pegs here, and I'm going to grab, my hands are really slippery so this is difficult, I'm going to grab this drawer liner so I can get a good grip on the piston and unscrew it. And just wrap this around. I'm going to pinch the pegs between my feet real quick because they're twisting. And I'm just gonna break the piston free by unscrewing it. And then once done that, you can easily slide it off or twist it, unscrew it off, and set it to the side. Put this thing on a paper towel. There's gonna be oil on it, in it, and you don't wanna get that all over the place. Okay, so now, once again, we've got the shaft all by itself, and we've got the other donut. This is the easier way to do it, but you gotta remove the piston, a little more time consuming. So, to do this one, I'm gonna grab a persuader. You can use a metal hammer too if you don't have a rubber mallet. And I'm gonna hold down here so I don't accidentally smash my hand. And I'm just gonna pound down a few times until I hear it pop on. So I got it on my third try, popped right on, and we're just gonna do the same thing where we slide this down. Each of these donuts takes about 1¼ inches off of the stroke on the bottom of the pogo stick and lowers the peg height closer to the ground, which will make it easier for you to step up onto and easier to learn. Okay, so once we've got those on, I'm gonna put our bounce pad back onto it. You use that 1/4 inch just to screw it back together and get it somewhat tight, and then I'm gonna lay this down on the ground again. I'm just gonna reverse the motion from before. It's easiest to have it laying on the ground because you can get some really good torque by holding down on the pegs and then pressing the key down. So we've got that in place. Then we put the piston back onto the shaft. You want to get this as tight as possible. It has a tendency to want to loosen up if you don't. So again, I'm going to use the drawer liner. I'm going to pinch the pegs between my feet, and I'm going to twist this guy back on as tight as I can get it. So now you've got the foot peg assembly all back together, and you want to put it back into the cylinder. The last thing that we need to do is add some lubricant back into here, because when you took it apart, you lost oil. So I'm going to take some white lithium grease. I'd recommend you probably get this. It's got a nice thick consistency to it. It's not quite so fast as the other lubricants that we generally recommend the crazy kids and all the pros to use. And this, because it's thicker, doesn't tend to leak out of the pogo stick or drain out of the pogo stick over time. It just kind of pulls up at the bottom, and then when you take it apart, you can clean it all. So last step is to take the cylinder and just drop it down onto the pegs. And you're gonna see it doesn't want to go. It's because the air in here is trapped and doesn't want to push down. So I'm gonna press down on the button on top of the Schrader valve. It's just like a car, bike valve. Right in the middle of it, you're gonna see a little button that you can press. Just stick your fingernail or a key or something else onto it. As you push this down, pegs go into the cylinder. You're gonna line up the bolt holes. You're gonna put the 8 bolts back into it, and you're gonna be ready to bounce. Just pump it up and enjoy.